Urgently seeking complaints about conversion therapy happening in New Zealand. Yep, the $2.2 million taxpayer-funded complaint centre set up by the Human Rights Commission for receiving complaints about conversion therapy has admitted that there have been no formal complaints about conversion therapy since the new law was passed, despite significant advertising in the media about the complaints service. And how do we know that there's been no complaints that have been taken any further? Well, we asked them directly. The media won't tell you, but we did. Let's check it out. So, in response to an Official Information Act request at the end of last year, the Human Rights Commission's new Conversion Practices Response Service has admitted that of the inquiries to the service, one inquiry was about activity that has happened since 18th of August 2022 when the Act came fully into force, the new law. And this inquiry was actually a complaint about an unwanted and offensive leaflet left in letterboxes that included a range of material, including disinformation about vaccines, discriminatory and incorrect information about transgender people. They went on to say no inquiries have been made about either non-affirming medical care or coercive gender transition practices, and they said there have been no referrals from the Commission to police or to the Health and Disability Commissioner. Now, this is consistent with numbers that we saw before the law was passed. The Human Rights Commission, in a response to a request from us back in March 2021, admitted that there had been just one informal complaint and no formal complaints in the past 10 years in relation to conversion therapy. We asked the Office of the Health and Disability Commissioner. They also couldn't provide any specific numbers. We did an informal search of 1,400 decisions dating back to 1997, suggested there had been no complaints around conversion therapy, and even some of the politicians who supported the new law admitted that they weren't aware of any cases of involuntary conversion therapy in their communities. And then during the Select Committee process considering the new law, the Ministry of Justice's Regulatory Impact Statement admitted there was little evidence of conversion therapy actually happening, using phrases lack of baseline data, limited data, no reliable data. It was very reliant on media reports only, which isn't that reliable. This law was always a solution looking for a problem. Now, despite the lack of need for a specialised complaints service, the Human Rights Commission received an additional funding of $2.2 million of your taxpayer dollars to basically set up this complaints service. And they've been twiddling their thumbs ever since. Now, in a subsequent OIA, which we did in February, we also asked them what engagement that had there been over the past 2 to 3 years by the Human Rights Commission with individuals who made submissions against the new law and who had had positive experiences of receiving counselling to deal with unwanted sexuality and gender confusion issues. Now, despite them claiming that they wanted to ensure that they regularly hear from diverse lived experience voices, they all but admitted that they didn't want to engage with people who had counselling, who wanted this counselling, who had unwanted sexuality and gender issues, because, quote, some people reported initially having a type of positive response to conversion practices, but invariably in time this was not sustained and the inevitable significant harm became clear. In other words, they never talked to all these people: Tina, Catherine, Emily, Emmanuel, Claire, Carmel, Ian, Laura, Judith, Rose, Josh, Mabel, Leah, Karen, Elizabeth, Keith, and Walt Hire. No, there is no acknowledgement from the Human Rights Commission that some people personally and willingly desire and choose change in their sexuality and their gender dysphoria. Their rights aren't important, according to the Human Rights Commission. Now, look, let's just remind ourselves, all New Zealanders should be protected from coercive, abusive, or involuntary psychological or spiritual practices. However, participation in psychological assessments, counselling sessions, prayer meetings, and other therapeutic practices is almost always an expression of voluntary behaviour and personal freedom. But under this new law, people are prevented from getting help to live the lifestyle they choose, and parents could be criminalised for encouraging their child to embrace their biological sex. So, ironically, while gender and sexuality is supposedly fluid, activists want the law to stipulate that it can only go in the direction they approve. Actually, just before I go, I was made aware of some terrible conversion therapy going on. Did you see this story in the news recently? Today FM radio hosts Leah Panapa and Miles Davis apologised on Friday on air for the comments they made around pronouns and inclusive language. The pair were discussing the term pregnant people, with Panapa explaining it was pregnant women, not people. Correct. And don't buy into this BS. Correct. She said there are moments, and this is one of them, where I actually just hate the human race. This is not a sensible world anymore. Correct. And Panapa went on to say anyone who identified as a man and had been or was pregnant was a woman who decided they want to be a man but then went, oh, I want a baby, so I'll keep my womb. End of quote. Well, that's correct also. Panapa went on to explain she believed women were becoming extinct and only women could have babies. Absolutely correct, isn't it? The article says they made a personal on-air apology and are undertaking rainbow tick training next week. Oh, rainbow tick training, also known as conversion therapy. Bow down to the rainbow tick. Perhaps we should contact the Human Rights Commission to give their complaints department some work. But yeah, I don't think they'd be keen to hear from us, Doesn't fit their agenda. And that says everything.